What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with some more fantasy football content. Today, I am doing my top 12 wide receiver rankings. Going to be ranking all my wide receiver ones. So stick around, of course, watch this video. Hit that subscribe button to stick around for more of these videos coming your way. Running back rankings will be coming out very shortly. Mock drafts every Monday. Going to be coming out with sleepers. So there's a sleeper video already out, but more sleeper videos. Players I target in every draft, league winners, just more great content. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in that comment section down below. But let's dive into these wide receiver rankings. So these are half-point PPR rankings. And at number 1, Ja'Marr Chase. Reason being he won the Triple Crown this last year. Let's dive into his stats. 175 targets, that's what you're looking for when one of these top wide receivers. 127 catches, absolutely ridiculous. 1,708 yards and 17 touchdowns. It was a fantasy year for the ages from Ja'Marr Chase, and he gets to play with Joe Burrow. Once again, that defense is not very much improved, in my personal opinion, especially when you consider the contract situations around their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, and their all-pro pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson. It doesn't seem to me that defense is going to be leaps and bounds better. So this Bengals team is going to need to go out there and score if they want to win football games. That is my reason I have him at number 1. He's just so locked and loaded. He's such an immense talent with such a great quarterback, target volume, and a necessity, and he can do so many things after the catch. It's insane. Up at number 2, I've got CeeDee Lamb. This may be a surprise. Some people have Jefferson very high. Just a first-year quarterback is not, exactly what I'm looking for. I'm taking the number 2 wide receiver off the board, even though he's an absolute stud. Justin Jefferson is, but the reason I've got CeeDee Lamb ahead, he's locked into insane target volume. He's got 1,749 yards his last fully healthy season with Dak Prescott. Dak went down this last year. 1,359 the year before that. He's got 100 balls each of the last 3 years. And I just think he's got a really good chance at double-digit touchdowns with Dak Prescott healthy in a season. And, Dak has already reported that he is fully healthy, ready to go for the season. You bring in George Pickens, I think it'll help him out, help the offense out a little bit. And then when you consider the run game that they have right now, Javonte Williams is probably their lead back, Jaden Blue. They've taken some major downgrades in the run game, even from last year when they had Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle. So they're going to have to go out there and throw to win football games. I expect them to be throwing the ball close to 40 times a game. And when that happens, CeeDee Lamb can go out there and post another 130-catch season, have 1,600 yards, and get double-digit touchdowns. And that's what you're looking for when you take one of these wide receivers at the top of the draft. You're looking for a guy who can go out there and outscore the position group that he is in. Let's go to our number 3. This one might be a surprise, but we'll see. Puka Nacua. I have very high hopes for Puka this upcoming season. He was banged up last year, didn't suit up for nearly all the games. But when you look at the pace that he was on, you look at his yards per game, good for 90 a game. And when you factor in a little bit of how, he was definitely injured in some of these games, he was on pace for 127 catches, right around 1,600 yards. And yeah, the touchdowns weren't going to be super high either way. But with Cooper Kupp gone, the connection that Matthew Stafford and Kupp had around the red zone, I think was a big reason why Puka Nacua wasn't catching as many touchdowns and just some bad luck. But I project him to go out there and catch 120 balls this year, have 1,600 yards, be an 8 to 10 touchdown player. I'm not projecting him for 12 like some of these other guys have that upside. Ja'Marr Chase is probably going to have at least 12 touchdowns this year. CeeDee Lamb, I think, will have double digits. Puka, you're hoping for, 8, maybe 10 touchdowns, maybe his ceiling. But I do think he can go out there and have 8 tuds with the type of volume he has and the type of player that he is. And Matthew Stafford losing that connection with Cooper Kupp, I think is going to open things up. Obviously, Devontae Adams is in town, but I think that he is going to be the main show and going to establish as that alpha number 1 and just get a ton of target volume this year. Let's go to our number 4 wide receiver. We talked about him a little bit. He finished as a wide receiver 2 last year. Justin Jefferson. it was a great year for him. He really is an absolute stud. I think if we were talking about who are the best wide receivers in football, him and Jamar Chase would be my top two for sure. I would take Chase over him, but the dominance that he has put on display, 1,500 yards this last year. He did catch 10 touchdowns. The only reason I don't have him as high as some of these other guys is mainly that he's having the young quarterback in McCarthy start this year. Obviously, it did work out last year. I do believe in the system. I think he is going to be good again. Obviously, I have him as a top 5 wide receiver, but just when you're nitpicking some of these guys at the beginning, I went a different direction. But they're all in the same tier to me. They're very close. I just don't project Justin Jefferson to catch 10 touchdowns this year. If Jordan Addison is suspended at the beginning of the season, there's a good chance that could happen. Justin Jefferson could get off to a really hot start. I could understand somebody even taking him over Puka Nacua. It's really personal preference. With the quarterback being my tiebreaker, that's the main reason that I knocked him a little bit down. I expect him to go out there and have a ton of yardage, a ton of catches. The touchdowns, that was the main reason that he's at number 4. It sounds like I'm debating why I'm not hating on the guy, but have him very high. Amon-Ra St. Brown is who I have at number 5. He is another guy who's just been a model of consistency these last few years, and I think it's just going to continue. He's another guy as well in his prime for sure, heading into his age 26 season. That is usually when wide receivers have their best season. And then if we look at last 3 years, 106 catches, 119 catches, 115 catches, and double-digit touchdowns each of the last 2 years. He's just incredible. That he's going to go out there, he's going to catch 110-plus balls. To be able to have a receiver that you can basically depend on for that is so safe in fantasy football. He's definitely a first-round pick to me. I feel really good taking him. I just feel like, as far as fantasy football goes, anyone can get injured, anything can happen, but he's as safe as it gets. It feels like you're putting money in the bank when you draft Amon-Ra St. Brown as a first-round pick. And I do think he's going to continue to hover right around this 10 touchdown mark. Maybe I wouldn't project him for 12, but I do think the Lions are going to struggle a little bit more this year, which I think is going to increase their passing volume overall, which is going to mean more targets for Amon-Ra. I think he'll be closer to that 160, 170 target mark that he was 2 years ago. I just think the offense is going to be a little bit less efficient losing Ben Johnson. They also lose their defensive coordinator. So obviously some big changes and just a lot of success for that football team last year. I just think there'll be some closer games, some games where they're throwing the second half a little bit more, and that's going to help out Amon-Ra, I think. So I think he can have an even better season than he did last year as far as yardage goes, maybe even catches. But I don't know if he'll get the exact same amount of touchdowns. But, 10 touchdowns, 12 touchdowns, you're kind of nitpicking at that point. But he's a guy who's going to go out there and has a really good chance to produce. Okay, we're heading on to our number 6 wide receiver. This guy I have a little bit higher than some other people. Let's capitalize the last name, put some respect on him. Nico Collins. I do think he's an absolute stud. And I've got a lot of reasons why I'm really excited about him for fantasy football this season, which I am about to dive into. Let's look at some of these stats. So last year, you see he had 100 targets in 12 games, good for 1,000 yards, averaging 83 yards per game. Even more the year before, he averaged a few more yards per game, 1,300 on only 109 targets. The target volume obviously went up this last year. And one thing that I really have been considering is when you look at the course of last season, obviously he missed some games. Tank Dell got banged up, missed some games. He's not going to be on the team this year. Stephon Diggs started the year healthy, getting a good amount of targets. He's gone as well. They did draft 2 rookies who are going to come in and compete for targets. But I think Nico Collins' target volume is going to go up even from where it was last year. He's around 7.8, 7.9 targets a game. I think that could easily go up 10 targets a game. Then he's around a 170 target wide receiver on an annual basis in a yearly sample. I don't know why I said annual. It's not a tax return. But with that type of target volume and how explosive of a player he is, the connection he has with C.J. Stroud, I think a lot of really good things can happen. He gets open down the field. He takes screens to the house. He's just extremely talented. And when you project this increase in volume that I think it's fairly reasonable, honestly, considering the way the depth chart has changed, the rookies, especially at the beginning of the year. I think C.J. Stroud is going to lean on him. The one thing I worry about this team is just the offensive line. Not terribly improved. They're ranked last, according to a lot of people. And last year, they allowed the most pressures in football. So that's, obviously concerning. But that, means positive game scripts for having to chuck the ball, honestly. And I do think Nico is going to have a great year. Like I said, wide receivers typically have their best season around age 26. He is heading into that. Not that it's, 26, 27, whatever it may be, 25. But he's heading into one of his prime production seasons. And I think a lot of things lighten up for him to get an absolute ton of targets. Speaking of targets, this next guy up gets a lot of them, and he demands a lot of them, and he earns a lot of them. Malik Nabers, I have at number 7. Absolute insane rookie year. If we were talking about where I would rank receivers overall, as far as talent in the NFL, I think Malik Nabers would be my number 3 wide receiver. But in fantasy football, obviously you're dependable on your quarterback to produce. But let me dive into some numbers and what I'm thinking when it comes to Malik Nabers. Russell Wilson, to me, is a massive upgrade at that quarterback position from Daniel Jones even. He's going to go out there and get a ton of targets. Like I said, he demands the ball. He was averaging more targets per game, I believe, than any other wide receiver in football, and it was a good amount, 80 yards a game last year. And he's one of those guys, he goes out there, he can run double moves, he can run some of this stuff where he just leaves a DB in their shoes, and he can get the ball, and after the catch, make those type of plays happen as well. And when he gets that better quarterback, I think he's going to be able to put all those skills on display. I think he's going to have 1,400-plus yards this season, have a threat for double-digit touchdowns. Again, an offense like this, I wouldn't necessarily go out there and project that. But let's say he goes out there and gets 1,400, 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. He could have an absolute insane season for fantasy football. And I don't think Russell Wilson's the best player in the world, but I do think he is a legitimate upgrade. We saw him produce for wide receivers in Pittsburgh last year for their fantasy football. And when you condense the targets to a player like Malik Nabers, as much as he's going to get as much action, it's going to be really good for him, and he's going to be awesome this upcoming season. Next up, we have got number 8, Drake London. And now he does have some projection to him. The main reason being we've got the new quarterback in Michael Penix. Drafting Drake London this early is a bit of a bet on Michael Penix, but I believe in Penix. And I don't think Kirk Cousins was playing great ball last year, and he was still able to go out there and produce. This is why I want to have the scoring leaders up here. Yeah, wide receiver 5 this last season. Absolutely incredible for him. 13.6 points per game. He caught 100 balls, 1,271 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And the nice part that Penix got a few starts at the end of last year. He got 3 starts, and in those 3 starts, Drake London averaged 13 targets per game. That's going to work for fantasy football. That is the perfect thing that owners wanted to see. He's worthy of that second-round pick. He's going to go out there. He's going to get 10-plus targets a game easy. I think he's probably going to be 10, 11 targets a game at the end of the season, which is 170, 180-plus targets. Those are phenomenal numbers. He's a guy who's going to go out there, catch 100 passes, have a chance for double-digit touchdowns, be able to get 1,500 yards. Just a lot of things are looking up for him, and really excited to see what he can do heading into his year 24 season. He's still a very young player as well. Okay, next up, this one again, I thought I was going to have him much higher, to be honest, when I made the list. Brian Thomas Jr., but I'll explain why I have him a little bit lower, because I think he was honestly just an insane season this last year. Brian Thomas, hopefully that works. I mean, he's only played in 24, so how many can be? Perfect. Okay, so 133 targets, 87 receptions, 1,282 yards, 10 receiving touchdowns. A great season. I just think when you look at some of these target volumes, a lot of things really have to repeat for him. And I do think he probably ends up getting 140 targets this year, 135. But just the draft capital that went into Travis Hunter at the number 2 overall pick, I do think he's going to be used primarily on offense. Obviously, he's going to be seasoned in on the defensive side of the ball. But when you draft a guy like that high, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the number 1 receiver on this team this year. I have no doubt of that. But I do think that he's going to get his workload eaten into by Travis Hunter, and that is what concerns me. Just when you're nitpicking some of these guys at the top, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is a terribly great quarterback. I do think he's probably in line for one of his best years, but when we're talking about a lot of these guys, he's a little bit better than Russell Wilson, but he's not a world beater from what he's shown us this part so far in his career, at least. But I think he's an immense talent. He's a real speedster. He's got great height. He's kind of I don't want that to sound. I was gonna say a juice version of Jameson Williams because he can go out and do things besides just be a speedster. But yeah, a really great player. I'm glad I would love to have. I have no problem taking him in round 2. I'm excited to get him in round 2, even the front half. To me, all these guys have a really good chance to be a stud this season. I think my top 9, there's like a tier break right after this. At number 10, I've got A.J. Brown. Another guy, I think he'll be very good for fantasy football. It's just we've seen that they don't have to, stress as much as some of these other teams to throw the ball and just getting the same type of volume. But he didn't have bad volume this last year. Just when you're nitpicking, he's probably not going to have 160 targets this year, but the yardage was good. If you look at the yards per game, pretty similar to what it's been the last 3 years. I think that's encouraging. 7 touchdowns in 13 games, so he can go out there, he can get 8, he can get 11. He's got that type of upside to him. He's an absolute freak. Heading into only his age 28 season, I feel like people think that A.J. Brown's a little bit older than he is just because he's been so successful for so long in the league. But snap up that discount. I have no problem taking him in the middle of round 2 as well. Very dependable and a guy that I'd be excited to have on my football team. Okay, number 11, T. Higgins. This one might come as a surprise, but we talked about Jamar Chase, the defense, a lot of the reasons that I like him earlier. All of those obviously apply to T. Higgins as well. To be honest with you, so spoiler alert, my number 12 is Ladd McConkey. He's going to be the last guy on the list. I really struggle to decide which one of these guys to put down. But honestly, I just think the touchdown upside and his connection with Joe Burrow is just so nice. He finishes, I believe, the wide receiver 2 last year in points per game. Yeah, he doesn't going to go out there and play every single game, but if I could get 14 games out of T. Higgins last year and he projects on a points per game basis to be in the top 5, that's such a value to be able to get a few games, to be able to get just at the back end of the wide receiver 2 spot, and he can do that because he goes out there and has big yardage games, he has touchdown games. I think this 10 touchdown season is more close to what I project him to do more moving forward with Joe Burrow. He's such a big player. At 6'3", 6'4", I believe even. Yeah. There's not that many wide receivers out there like him who can move like him, run routes like that, and be a weapon in the red zone. 76 yards per game going out there, giving you 7.5 points, add in the receptions on a per-game basis, and then he's got an 80% chance of scoring a touchdown according to his numbers last year. Again, he might not be that high, but I think he's a guy who goes out there more likely to score than he is to not, and that's really nice at the wide receiver position to have. And then at number 12, we just talked about it. It's the young guy, Ladd McConkey. And I thought about taking him even over T. Higgins. He is the one, obviously, in his offense, T. McConkey. It's been a long video. We're almost done. Ladd McConkey. But a guy who went out there had a great rookie year. I was going to say 82 for 1,149, 112 targets. The nice thing is I can almost guarantee you this target number goes up. He'll be in the 130 to 145 target range. That's going to be really good for him. The target touchdown production on this amount of targets probably not repeatable, but let's say he gets 140 targets, he could easily go out there and have 8 to 10 touchdowns, which is what you're looking for when you're taking these guys in the top 10. He could be close to that 100 catch range. And that 14 yards per target is really nice. He is an insane route runner. He's a guy who ran out there and ran a 4.3, and he is the number 1 wide receiver on this offense. If you're worried about the injury risk with T. Higgins, you say, I want a guy who's just going to go out there and play every week. And again, Ladd has also gone down in his career. That's the reason, part of the reason I put T ahead, just because I think both these guys have similar injury risk when you look at their profile through college. Ladd missed quite a bit of games. But when he's out there, he's been awesome, and he is the one. So really, if you wanted to, for those reasons, if you want to take Ladd above T, it's not an awful reason at all. But I would take T just because I think the touchdown upside is slightly higher. But I do think the overall upside is probably a little bit higher with Ladd McConkey just because, yeah, he could transform and have a 1,400-yard, 12-touchdown a year and be a dominant number one if he goes out there and gets 148 targets or something on this offense, has an insanely productive year. But obviously I think T is capable of a really nice season as well. Okay, if you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section down below. Running back rankings will also be coming out very shortly, so hit that subscribe button for that one. Check out the mock draft we have on Monday as well. So stay tuned, and I'll thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.